What would happen if all volcanoes erupted at the same time? If all the volcanoes on Earth erupted at the same time, it would not just mean a lot of lava. In reality, the greatest danger would come not only from below, but from above, from the atmosphere. Large eruptions throw ash, gases, and especially sulfur dioxide high into the air. In the upper layers of the atmosphere, this gas turns into tiny particles that reflect part of the sun's light. Because of that, powerful eruptions can temporarily cool the planet. Now imagine this happening not with one volcano, but with all of them at once. In the first hours and days, many regions would descend into chaos. Areas near volcanoes would be devastated by lava flows, burning clouds of ash and gas, falling rocks, and massive mud flows. These mud flows form when ash mixes with water, ice, or melting snow, and they can race through valleys over long distances, destroying cities, roads, and bridges. But the biggest change would not be limited to countries near volcanoes. Ash would rise into the sky over entire continents. Heavier particles would fall back down fairly quickly, but finer ash and sulfur-rich particles would remain in the atmosphere much longer. Sunlight would grow weaker. Days would feel like an endless twilight. Not total darkness, but as if the sun were shining through a dirty, gray veil. It is the kind of change that would be easy to show in animation. First a bright planet, then one slowly covered by a dim, dusty filter. Then the second stage would begin. A volcanic winter. Not a true ice age, but a sudden, short-term global cooling. Temperatures would drop, rainfall patterns would shift, seasons would become less predictable, and harvests would weaken. Ash-covering fields, reduced sunlight, and colder weather together would hit agriculture hard. That would mean not only damage to nature, but also disruptions in food supplies, clean water, electricity, transportation, and healthcare. Air travel would nearly stop, because volcanic ash is extremely dangerous for aircraft engines. Interestingly, in this scenario, lava would not be the main villain for the whole planet. Lava is terrifying on a local scale. It destroys everything in its path, but compared with the size of Earth, it spreads relatively slowly. Gases and ash, on the other hand, can affect the global climate almost immediately. So for nearby towns, the deadliest threats would be explosions, ash, and scorching flows. But for the world as a whole, the real danger would be darkened skies, cooling temperatures, and the collapse of normal life. Would this mean the immediate end of humanity? Not necessarily. Earth would not split apart, and it would not become a giant ocean of lava. That is a popular myth, but the consequences would be so enormous that civilization would face one of the worst crises in its history. Modern society depends heavily on stable climate, transportation, electricity, and global supply chains. If all of that were shaken at once, survival would become far more difficult. So in simple words, if all volcanoes erupted at the same time, Earth would not burn up. Instead, the sky would darken, the climate would shift, and life would become much harder. First, there would be explosive chaos near the volcanoes. Then, a global veil of ash, and after that, colder weather, crop failures, and a long struggle to adapt. It would not be a story about one giant blast, but about the moment Earth's own atmosphere turned against us. What do you think about this? Write your thoughts in the comments.